Hello there, and I hope everybody's doing well. Some of you are getting some taste of fall and some cooler weather. Some of you are finding that you're getting more summer weather than fall weather, but hopefully it'll work out sooner or later because we are, after all, we are in October. I was also thinking today, just for a couple of things, that some of you may be curious about where I get these quotes because I'll mention that later. It all started actually with this. It was a little book somebody gave me, a calendar with quotes on it. The date of this, I was looking at it because I was curious, was 1991. That doesn't mean I've had it that long, but this is when it came out, and I just went through and started taking down quotes. Then I used them in school, and I'd put a quote of the day and we'd get the class started before, everything started. So I've acquired a few over the course of time. These are card boxes, note card boxes. This one is full. I've got 3 of them, at least, like this. So I just go through and find a quote. Frequently I've got an idea of what I'm looking for. Not always, but frequently. So I go through and look for something that I'm looking for. And in this particular case, I found 2, and they both come out with psychiatrists, actually. And I want you to know that I don't go looking for the people. I look for the idea, because like what happens on those quotes that I've got, sometimes it'll say unknown or anonymous. So I go and do some checking to see if there really is somebody I can attribute it to, or really is unknown or anonymous. And I discovered that these 2 quotes came from people with names, like in this particular case, Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. Which is what led me to this little diversion about how I get these quotes in the first place. Anyway, so what I've got is 2 very similar quotes. Carl Jung made the comment, "I'm not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And Freud said something similar. We are let me start that one again. We are what we are because we have been what we have been. Slightly different, but still the same concept. Essentially, what they're trying to say, or at least the way I interpret it, is the way you are and the way you might be in the future has not really anything to do with what has happened to you in the past. So you could have been a bully, you could have been, a creep, you could have been a jerk. On the other hand, you could have been a really nice person too. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what your future is going to be. Your future, in a sense, is determined by the choices you make today and where you want to go and how you want to be. So it's not that you're condemned, if you will, to repeating the same story all over again. Because I said before about insanity being doing the same thing over and over again. Many of us think that that's what is. We get stuck. I'm in this position because I'm always going to be there because there's nothing I can do. That's not true. You have the ability to decide where you want to go and what you want to do. Now, all right, before anybody jumps on me, I realize that there are limitations to situations. So if you happen to be living out in the middle of nowhere, it's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and being in the middle of New York City. I'm not looking at it from the standpoint of how your physical or constraints are limiting to what you're doing. I'm thinking in terms of the way you view your constraints. If you look at yourself and saying, I'm too poor, I'm too broke, I'm too stupid, I'm too ugly, I'm too short, I'm too fat, whatever it is, to be able to be this or to accomplish this, those are the constraints that I think Freud and Jung are talking about. You're thinking about what you are or your limitations and what you cannot be. And so what makes you think you're ever going to accomplish anything when you're basically telling yourself that you can't? I'm too fat to do this. I'm too short to do this. I'm too skinny to do this. Now, maybe if 4'8" and you're a man, yeah, you're probably going to be too short to get into the NBA. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't perhaps get a job working with them if your goal is to somehow be associated with the NBA. So a lot depends on where you're coming from and how you're thinking about it. Let's just use that as an example. If you've got the idea that you want to hang around with the likes of great basketball players, doesn't necessarily mean you have to play the sport. You can still hang around them. You could be a trainer. You could be somebody who's in administration. You could be an agent. There's a lot of ways that you can associate with those particular people and not necessarily have or acquire those particular skills or abilities, depending on how you want to look at it in this case. If you want to be, I don't know, a Navy SEAL, and I don't know where that came from. It just popped into my head. There's a variety of different ways you could be there depending on the particular skills. Now, realize that there's certain things that are the requirements, and I have no idea what the requirements are to be a Navy SEAL. But, you can figure out, what you can do to accomplish those. Maybe you just need to be really, 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 really good at some particular thing that the Navy SEALs appreciate, and maybe they'll get to do a waiver. I don't know. But the idea here is that for you to start looking at the fact that what you're saying to yourself is what limits you from getting to wherever you want to be. Again, I'm not what happened to me. I'm what I choose to become. So if you're in a relationship that's unhappy and you don't like it, you're the one that keeps you there. Once you decide that you're going to end it and figure out and put your mind to a good thinking process to figure out how you're going to end it, you can figure out how to end it. Because it's all going to be your choice. If you basically say, I'm condemned to this and this is the way it's going to be for the rest of my life, that is the way it's going to be for the rest of your life. You've got that power of choice. You always have that power of choice. And somebody's going to say, well, I can't do this. Are you telling yourself that you can't do that because you don't want to do that? Or do you have such limited beliefs in yourself that you're not going to do it because you don't believe you can? Because all of it really goes back to, for those of you children, or those of you who remember when you were children, anybody remember the story of the little engine that could? Going up the hill, I think I can, I think I can, I know I can. I mean, most of you have, if you deal with children, you basically tell children a lot of times that they get to do whatever they want to do if they believe that they can. So where did you get to the point that you stopped believing that you could? And what can we do to get you starting to think that you can now? So, give me a scenario that you can accomplish. Again, within some degree of reason. I keep saying I'm not going to be 20 again, and because, well, to be honest, I don't think I want to be 20 again. But so that's part of the issue right there. But, what is it that's keeping you from being where you want to be and doing what you want to do? Your age? I've seen a lot of people, for example, that are in their 90s that, get across the stage and get a degree. You could get a lot of things can happen. It depends really on whether or not you're going to put yourself to the effort to find a way to do what you want to do. Are you going to follow through enough on yourself to do it? Or are you just basically going to say, yeah, I can't do this, so I'm not even going to bother? Because it really is all up to you. If you think it's not, send me a comment. Tell me what it is that you think you can't do, and let's see what I would have to say about it. Would you be willing to get into a discussion with me about it? Do you think that if we were face to face or even on a telephone and we had a discussion, do you think you'd be able to convince me that you couldn't do whatever it was you wanted to do? Short of something that physical, like if you're 4'8", you're not going to be 7'3" overnight, that kind of thing. Something within the realm of possibility that is up to you and your abilities to do it. Think about that. So I hope this gave you some food for thought and a good way to start off your week. Well, that's assuming, of course, you started this week looking at this. But give some thought this week. And my challenge to you this week is to think in terms of, or to catch yourself thinking about, when do you say, I can't do that? And is it really true that you can't do that? Or is it that you don't want to, or that you don't believe you can? And what can you do to change that? Again, if you think this would be helpful, pass it on to somebody else and let me know what you think about it and if you found it helpful. I hope so. So we'll chat with you later. See you next week. Bye.